Hey guys, so today I wanted to share a bit about how I learned to focus better. Most of this is going to be information from the book Deep Work, which I just finished reading. So I want to talk today about how I learned to manage my distractions and how to find better ways to actually get the things I want to get done. So if you're anything like me, sometimes you find yourself getting easily distracted, whether it's picking up your phone when you're supposed to be working, and then go into an article, and then maybe you get distracted from that article and you go to a different article, and then you find yourself scrolling and forgetting what you even picked up your phone for. So this seems pretty common. I think I know a lot of people that have that same issue. And then add on top of that all the fun apps like social media apps and whatever that you always go back and forth from just to get this like new experience. You open an app thinking, oh, like I want to see something new, right? Yeah, in the book, Newport talks about how we all live a sort of distracted life and try to be focused while we're living a distracted life, instead of living a focused life and allowing room for distractions here and there. So that got me thinking, how I live my life and how I structure my day. So what the book talks about is that the main problem isn't necessarily the activity like scrolling on social media. The biggest issue is the switching. And if you think about it, every time you switch, you're essentially training your brain to seek something new and to be okay with switching to something if you get bored for even a second, right? You're essentially saying, oh, if this is not engaging enough for me, what I'm going to do is switch as opposed to sticking with this thing. So that kind of drains your concentration. And that was pretty eye-opening for me because I realized that I'm essentially training or programming myself to switch when things get boring, right? And that's something that we all do. We're all unaware. Even during my downtime where I'm on these apps just for fun, I'll switch because I get bored. I get bored of what I see on Instagram, so I switch to something else. So that was the first problem. It's that I was living a distracted life and I was trying to focus while I was living a distracted life, even outside of my work time. If I was training myself to get distracted, that was basically gonna harm my concentration during my work time. The fact that we're living a distracted life made me understand that it's harming my concentration even when I want to be focused. And now there's a second issue. The second issue is how you structure your day. So for this part, I'm gonna have you think back to high school or college or any time of your life where there was a timetable or a schedule for you to follow. So if you think about it, back in high school or college or any period of time in your life where you might have had structure throughout the day, there was less room to switch from task to task. You have English class, you go to English class and you think about English class for an hour and a half or something, and then you switch. So the idea of having a schedule stops when you exit that system. For me, it stopped when I exited college. And obviously I had work, but even when I started working, it was sort of, I have agency in how I spend my time during work. It's kind of up to me, right? And then definitely up to me how I spend my time outside of work. So I found myself basically not having a structure, and that quickly became room for more distracted activities. And so that's issue number 2, is not having a structure for my day. So here we have these two things that were a detriment to my focus and concentration. It was the fact that I was switching from task to task even in my downtime, or I was just living a distracted life, and the fact that I didn't have a structure towards my day. So now we're going to talk about how I address these issues and how you can too. So for the lack of structure to your day issue, I suggest just scheduling your day. That's what I did. I wake up and I have a plan of things that I'm going to do. Initially, about a year ago or a year and a half ago, I started with just 1 or 2 things. It was when I was going to work out, because I was already working at that time and I had a job and I had to go into work. So it was when I was going to work out, when I was going to go grocery shopping, it was all planned. It was in my schedule. And then I found that adding a few more things, like what's my morning routine, when am I going to do the activities I want to do. So I want to read more books, so I scheduled that into my daily schedule, and figuring out what things I want to do and placing them into this plan that I wake up and sort of just go into execution mode. I just execute throughout the day. And here's the thing, the schedule is not going to be like gospel. It's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be something you stick to 110% of the time. You will have days where you kind of have to make adjustments, because that's the beauty of life, right? Random things happen here and there. If every day was the same and every day was about doing the same things, that kind of sounds like a boring life. It will be a very productive life, but boring nonetheless. So definitely expect to have room for haphazard events here and there, but know that having a schedule will anchor you to how you want to spend your day, and you get to pick what things to do. So that's step number one. It's having a schedule. I can share some of mine. In the mornings, I have my morning routine whenever I wake up, which is usually around 7:30. Nowadays, it used to be later in the past. I wake up 8, 9. And I try to get up even earlier these days, so I'm trying to join the 5 a.m. club soon, hopefully, once I can manage to do that. And then I do the stretches. My yoga mat always stays out, so I know just to go and do my morning movement just to get some blood flowing. Then I'd make my breakfast, and then I'd do my pre-deep work ritual, which is take my supplements, vitamin D and some other things, and then have food and have my caffeine, which is like my tea usually, ready, and set myself up for my first deep work session, which is an hour and a half of basically only deep concentration work. No checking emails, no checking my phone. My phone is usually in the other room when I'm doing this deep work session. So that's sort of how I start my day. I do a few of these deep work sessions throughout the day, and in between I have breaks for shallow work, which is things like checking email, things like to-do list items, and then I'll have time to work out in the evening, early afternoon, and then do any of the other errands and stuff. So that's like basic rough structure of my day, or one of my days. Obviously some other days I have content creation, for example, which is something new. So that's sort of how I structure my days. And if you want to know about how to do deep work, I'll make a video about it. Probably going to be a summary of the steps from the book Deep Work by Newport. If you haven't read it already, if you have, then it'll be a good reminder as well. So hit that bell button and you'll know when that video comes out. So now we have a structure to our day, and we know that we're going to try to follow it as best as we can, and we're not going to be perfect the first few times, but over time it's going to be good. Over time you're going to be able to stick to that routine. As long as you put in the effort, over time you get better and better at it. Or over time your schedule gets better and better. That's one thing I found. The schedule I first had didn't quite work for me. I started to understand what my body needs at different times, what works for me, what doesn't, and over time you perfect what your daily routine looks like. All right, and then for the first issue of distraction, this one's harder, because this is something that we do that we're not really aware a lot of the time. If you think about it, if you're standing in line for something, and there's a few people ahead of you, you're at a store, what's the first thing you do? You pick up your phone. You don't even have an intention. You just want to look at something because you're bored, and you find something that piques your interest. You read it for a few minutes, and then you get bored, and then you switch. So that's going to be hard to detrain yourself. But ultimately, our goal here is to try to detrain ourselves from seeking distraction. Basically, our set point should be a focused or a more present mode of being, rather than a default distracted mode of being, if that makes sense. So what that means is, if you're in line and you're bored, stay bored. Be okay being bored. Look at the ceiling or something, or maybe just be present and think about the people there, or think about something else. Don't pull out your phone. The more you do this, the more you train yourself to not run towards something when you're bored. And I think that's the key thing for me. Whenever I have the urge, I try to resist. And if you think about it, every time you resist, you're getting stronger and stronger. Your willpower is getting stronger and stronger. So you're going to be able to avoid distractions better the more you do this. So when you pair these two things together, you have a day where you have a plan of activities that you picked and you want to do, and then you've slowly improved your ability to stick to something even if it's boring, and you did this by practicing not just while you're doing your schedule but throughout your life. When you're in line, when you're bored, when you're on the toilet, you don't pull out your phone and just go from article to article or something. You just sort of trained yourself to be okay doing boring things and to be okay being present with boredom. So if you combine those two things, that means you're very likely to stick through your schedule, and when it actually gets boring, you can easily stick with it. You don't feel the urge, or you feel the urge to switch, but you've trained yourself to feel normal and feel like denying that urge to switch is just part of what you normally do. The golden third tip, I think I really saved the best for last, is that I've come to realize you have a focused mode and a distracted mode, and what you want to do is be very aware of when you're in the focus mode, and you don't want to break that. What that means is, for example, in the morning when you wake up, you don't wake up feeling distracted. You wake up with focus. If anything, you have an idea of what you want to do. So in that moment, it's so critical, so critical that you don't pick up the phone and check notifications if you want to keep this focused mindset. So I found on the days, and do this yourself, don't take my word for it, have a day where you wake up and you don't even look at your phone. You just go and do the things that you wanted to do, like you schedule morning routine, whatever it is, and then start working. You'll find that you're so much more focused, as opposed to if you get up and check your phone or check your email, which, sometimes, because I get emails in the morning from work, I might feel like I need to check it, and then I check it, and then I realized, oh, I'm kind of snapped out of my focused mindset, and I have to sort of put extra work. So if you want to take the easy route, it's to actually avoid distractions at the start of your day and try to avoid it for as long as possible. If I could spend a whole morning until noon with no notifications, putting my phone away, for example, it just feels like I don't even have to work to be focused. Distractions aren't even a thing anymore all of a sudden. So I think, from my experience at least, like, I have two modes, a focused mode and a distracted mode rather, and snapping into a focused mode when you're already distracted is harder. So if I wake up and check my phone, if I wake up and I'm getting blasted with notifications in the morning and I have to check it while I do my morning routine, and then put my phone and laptop on do not disturb, and then try to grind on something that I'm working on or try to write something, then I find that it's so much harder to be focused, because my mind has switched from a focused state into a more distracted state. So that's key number 3, and I think that might be the most important one, is to know when you're focused and to really protect it. When you're focused, I know it might be tempted to think that, I'll take a little break, get distracted, and then come back, but it's gonna be gone. Keep it. I'd say, for me at least, I've learned that I want to hold on to it as much as I can. And so yeah. So to summarize the 3 things, first one was to just resist distractions by practicing throughout the day and living a focused life rather than a distracted life, and try to catch myself whenever I'm switching from things to things. Second one would be to schedule the day, and have a bunch of activities, or plan my day ahead of time and know exactly what I'm going to be doing when, and try to stick to that schedule. And the third one would be to protect my focused mode. So whenever I'm not distracted, so when I wake up, for example, I'll delay notifications and delay meetings and emails as much as possible. If I could delay it until last minute of the day before I have to log off, then I will. And I find those 3 things just really help, and over time I'm finding that it actually makes my day way more focused, and I'm getting better at it too. I'm getting way more aware of when I'm being distracted, and I can actually notice, and then I can work on it myself. So that's the video, guys. Stay tuned for that deep work video that I talked about, and hit that subscribe button so you know when it comes out. Till next time.